Anytime you talk about a big city, it's like economics are a big part. People are making money, like people buy, and that's the status quo. That's what they're
doing. Beer, feel free to go grab it while I'm talking. Thanks.
Yeah, Wordpress.
Thanks very much to Salon.com for coming and presenting today. We're all super excited. Thanks as always to Automatic. We've got 2 folks representing Automatic today. And thank you for the beer and the pizza. And thank you for Wordpress. Pretty cool. Thank you to AppThemes, one of our other co-sponsors who's not able to make it tonight. If you don't know, AppThemes builds awesome application-like themes. I'm Zach. You're at Exygy. That's us. We build custom web and mobile applications. We do a lot with Wordpress as well. So after this, we'll probably do a few minutes. Well, we'll do some Q&A, and then we'll also do, if anybody has anything they want to talk about as far as your hiring or quick looking for work, maybe 30 seconds each. Be happy to get everyone up here. We want to make sure we make some connections, and then eat some beer. So, yeah, anything else? Anyone got anything before we get started? Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, again, Ibu, Salon.com. Thank you very much. Take the floor.
Alright guys, forgive me if you can't hear me. I'm usually soft-spoken, so just tell me to speak louder. I'm Ibrahim Madha, or Ibu for short. I'm a product manager at Salon.com. You are here today to see a sneak peek behind our custom WordPress install. So, are all of y'all familiar with Salon.com? Everyone's a reader. Yeah, cool, awesome. Contrary to what my friends think, we're not a hair care website. We are a, we've got like 1 million page views, weekly, monthly, something like that. We post maybe like 30 or 40 articles a day. We've got over 200 stories we bring in through AP. So we're a very active WordPress install. We have over 2 million comments and who knows how many users, a lot. So we're definitely not your typical WordPress user, and we did a lot of stuff to kind of change for our specific editorial workflow and also performance-wise. So here you are, you're looking at the site right now. This is, I apologize for the terrible ad skin, but we gotta make that paper. So Salon.com is our main website, but if you try to go to WP admin, of course it will just redirect you to the site. So we've actually put all of our admin on a separate URL, and that is, it's a secret, so don't tell anybody, railroad.net. I'll just give a second for it.
Does that mean something? Like an inside joke?
Yeah.
It's
it's a pun to the journalistic expression to railroad something. And it was an available domain. So this is a mirror of our site, and a few things you'll notice that are a little different is you'll see these numbers by the stories, and I'll explain what that means in a second. So I'll just take you in a quick peek behind our post view, and you'll see the first thing you notice, we've kind of gotten rid of a lot of the dashboard elements because they're not really useful to us. They don't really, we don't want our users seeing them all the time. We just kind of want them to get to their work. So here is our posts table. And off the bat, you'll notice, you see how we have images on the side. We're highlighting, I don't know if you can tell on the screen, screen, it's kind of hard to see, but we bolded the first topic or category. We have this priority and shelf life stuff, and I'll explain what all of this is. So the first thing we did, like I was saying, we put our featured art, which is the same, the post thumbnail or featured image feature of WordPress. We put it on this table, and you can do the same. You see the same screen. You go to set the featured image here. You can do that without opening up the story. We did it that way because we've got art and editorial departments, and it sort of makes the workflow easier. They don't have to open the story and risk saving over anyone else's changes. Plus, it makes it easier to identify the story. You can see it by number. You know, it just makes one less click, which is always nice. The other thing we do here is we have the notion of Byline, and this is separate from WordPress's default notion of author. So how many of you run WordPress blogs that have multiple authors? So do you ever have cases where there's someone who they'll have like 2 authors for one article? So there wasn't really a way that we saw that handled this. So what we did is we created writers as a custom taxonomy. And so instead of the user who entered the post becoming the author by default, it's now a taxonomy. So you tag the story with the writer. This works for us because, of course, it solves the problem of having multiple people, as you can see by this story right here. Also, it makes more sense because we have users who are salon employees entering stories by people who aren't going to have a WordPress login. So that's what we did for that. We have the notion of categories, and we have primary categories, and so you see the ones that are bolded are the primary ones. Like this one is politics and news, but we put politics first. And this is so we can show what context the story will show up in. And so it has a default landing page. The same thing with topics. Another thing you'll notice is we have these notes here, and all this is a text field in the database, but it's really super useful because you can just scan the page and then you'll see, things like do not publish, bolding, or little messages that we have for each other, so it makes the communication much easier. It's kind of hard to see, of course, on this screen, but the other thing is priority and shelf life. And so going back to the cover, we have this cover is dynamically generated based on those 2 values. So the way it works is editorial will assign priority to a story, and depending on if the current time is within that story's shelf life, which is how many hours from the publish date, and of course we have the expiration right here. So if it hasn't expired and it has a high enough priority, it will show up on the cover. So if we had a breaking story, we could set priority 1, and it would more than likely get the top slot, which is that big one, if it's in current shelf life. Okay, so let me take you into a story page. So this is also very different from what you're used to seeing, probably. We've taken the ability out for a user to sort and move around the various meta boxes. The reason we did that is so it's easier to communicate. We can tell them where something is on the screen, and it won't be different from user to user. The other thing you'll notice is that we've taken these out of meta boxes and sort of put them above everything else. And so what cover line is basically an alternative to a title. If we have something on the cover, this one is character capped at I think it's what's the character cap? 50 characters, and it watches your limit for you. The deck is the same thing as the excerpt. It's just we've been calling it deck for however many years. And then Byline is what I was talking about. It's the writer taxonomy. And then over here is what we call the magic tagger. So have any of you guys used the Simple Tags plugin? So what it does is it will ping OpenCalais, which is a service provided by Reuters, and it'll scan the body of your post and provide you with suggested keywords, suggested tags. So we've done that with our own AI. So it'll look at our topic database, which is what we call our post tags. We call them topics, and pick what is more likely. And so that's this box here. And of course, you can also arrange these to get your primary, and that's how we solve that problem. And this is your cover rank box, like I was talking about. Let's see what else. Oh, and this happens to be a slideshow, and so this is, I think what was called at the last meetup, someone called it the Inception Editor, which I like because it's an editor within an editor, but it doesn't really go past level 1, so I apologize for that lack of complexity. But so these are just slides, and you can add as many slides as you want, and our slides are usually just a piece of art and then some text with it, and make it a unique presentation on the site. And one thing that's fun too is just rearranging things, and we love jQuery because it lets us do things like that really easily. And yeah, and we also, another fun thing we do at WordPress, we actually manage contracts from within the CMS. So each story, if it gets a unique contract, it's set up right here, and you can see it easily.
Some people see it, depending on your access.
Yeah, depending on your level, of course. I'm an admin, so I see everything. I like having that power. Let's see, what else is all in use? It's interesting. Oh yeah, and here's the notes field, which is it's just an exciting little text box. But like I said, it's one of the most handy things we've done. Is pull that out to the post table. So that is pretty much. Oh, okay. And so the other thing that's kind of interesting, what we've done is shadow posts. And so what this is typically when you have a taxonomy, like a post tag, or in our case, our custom taxonomy writer, you only get one field in the database. I think it's called description, and that's sort of where you put any meta information. So let me give you an example of a topic page. So so this is the War Room topic page. So this is just an archive view of our post tag War Room. But you'll see that it has a special presentation. It's got this logo up here. It has this little about block. And all this information is shared in its own post type. So the post type is topic, and the taxonomy is post tag. And they're tied together via the relationships table. So the reason why we did it that way is because so people have been using WordPress, and now they have a familiar interface, and I'll show you how they edit the topic. So these are all our topic post types. I'll just find the War Room topic. And this is a topic page. So it looks just like a post page, so it's really easy for our users to edit any meta information for this topic. They can add an overhead image, which is just absolutely the same thing as featured art, and just renamed it so it's easier. They can add any sort of arbitrary HTML here to have a widget on the side, and we have a bunch of built-in widgets that we've sort of made for this type of page, like our Open Salon, which is our open blogging community, which no, it's not on WordPress, but maybe in the future. And sort of various metadata that we use. We can also change the topic type, and the reason, so we have a different topic type called media property. So if this was a movie, we get media property type, which will just change the display of it, and I think the quotes around it. And that's what the topic page, and we have a similar thing for writers. So here is an example of a writer page, how you would see it facing the world. And so you see Glenn has his picture up there and his bio. And if you go to any of his stories, well, it's on his writer page, but if we weren't on his writer page, oh there, I guess, there it is. We also have his little headshot there and a little mini bio. That is also controlled by shadow posts. So I'll take you to his and just show you the difference. Can't spell. I still can't spell. Oh, and neither could someone else. And so that's the same kind of thing. This is bio. His short bio is the post's excerpt. His contract's right there, and both his images are easy to upload and edit. They're just like featured images. Yeah, and then he actually uses his arbitrary HTML block and has all sorts of fun stuff. His little blog roll and all that. And yeah, so.
Does he get to manage his page?
Yeah, totally. And because he's set for the author role, he can only see his writer page also. So he can click on the writer page and he'll only be able to see the one that's tied to his name. So yeah, that's our shadow post functionality. It's one of those things that we want to kind of release out because there's not a way to have a real way to do meta for a taxonomy type, and so this is a good way that still uses WordPress's custom APIs to do the same thing and presents you with a familiar interface. Another thing we want to release that I'm working on is the slideshow thing, and that's also something that's it's unique to everyone's site, but it just will provide an easy-to-use API to make a slideshow, because all those slides are their own post, they're a post-type slide, and every editor, I think now there's an easier way to do editor. I think that wasn't even WordPress, but when I wrote that, we just kind of threw it together. I made up a way to have another editor within the editor. So, sure.
How does this get related to the taxonomy?
It's on the relationships table.
So do you have to manually create the taxonomy,
No,
or does it automatically?
so what happens is every time you create a post tag or you create a writer, if it's a new one that's not in our database, it'll automatically create the post and then make that association. It's been problematic. It's not without its bugs, but we're working on that. So we're trying to think of a different way to create the relationship, because the problem with creating a relationship on the relationships table is it's open. You can tag multiple, it's not a one-to-one. And ideally, we want it to have a one-to-one relationship. Each post tag should only have one shadow post. But let's see, what else can I cover that's interesting? Oh, this is fun. Oh, sure.
I'm sorry if this is too simple, but just roughly, where did you change the post table? I call your customizations to post table?
I can't remember the name of the function called, but there's a way where you can add columns and you can choose what goes in those columns.
It's a WordPress function.
Yeah, you can make them sortable or not. This is something that's just it's sort of unrelated to the other stuff. It's sort of really specific to how we do things, but it's another way we use just WordPress and all the stuff it has built in. We just created a custom page that controls this little box, which we call the promo box right here. And like I said, all that stuff is just using It's on the options table. This is also a featured image, and it's the same. We use the same UI to. Oh. Yeah, there it goes. The same UI, the same media library functions. So it stays familiar. There's one consistent media interface for the whole thing. Oh, the name of the function is called manage posts columns. What else is there?
How do you do the ads?
The ads, we have a ad server. It's called OAS, and so we just create basically the divs on our theme, and then they get pulled in via JavaScript later. And pay our bills. Sometimes.
There are controllers for that in here too.
Yeah,
so the ad tag team can go in and add custom keywords and stuff so they can target pages.
Yeah, I'll show you that. We try to put as much stuff as we can in the CMS so that it's all, so this is just running campaigns.
Does OAS have anything to do with personalizing the ads to the users, or?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it. I mean, it probably uses. I know that we have ad networks, and the networks will sometimes do some eerie targeting. So that's always fun. Yeah.
Do you have any way that you say you cover a lot of AP articles? Is there like a streamlined process for?
So we use APs. They have an API. I forgot what it's called. It's AP something. AP API. It's called that. But it's so they give us an XML feed, and we just take it, parse it, and then insert it into our post table via the WP insert post function, and label it differently so we know those are wires, and organize it, and also cleans itself up after, I think they last for 30 days. So those posts will automatically get deleted unless they get promoted, and that's changing the priority.
Is there a manual editorial filter that those AP posts go through? Do they go into a pending queue until they're...
So no, they just get published to the site, and then if they're important, what we call moving a wire or promoting a wire, we'll give it a higher priority. They come in default with our value 12, which is just our arbitrary value we pick just to mean it's not important, and then so it'll get bumped up, and then maybe edited, and it will therefore become eligible to become on the cover out of its normal AP status. Yeah.
I noticed you have 197,000 posts or something like
Yeah,
that. Did you migrate all your old?
Yes, that was probably the most fun thing I've ever done in my entire life. I'm being incredibly sarcastic. It was not easy. Because of course there's. Oh yeah, that's a good. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you did.
It was because our content has been through so many different systems, and so it was all disorganized, and so the migration script itself was actually my first project at Salon. It was and major programming too, which was crazy, but it was I think it took a total of 2 or 3 days to run, and it just went through all of our data, put it in a WordPress friendly format, cleaned up whatever we knew to look for, and put it in the database. Migration was a very fun process. Everyone, these guys and Karen over there, we were all, spending the night in the office sometimes. I remember threatening to jump off my balcony. I live on the 2nd floor, so I would probably so yeah, it was fun. Good times.
What were you guys in before?
We were in a home-built content management system. It was called MPS. It was built before there were really content management systems. In 1999, correct? 2000?
That's the book, right? Scott Rosenberg's book.
Yes.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah, it was sort of on its way out, and that's why we went to WordPress. It was affectionately, it stands for Millennium Publishing System. It was affectionately called Massive Piece of Shit. Here's another fun thing.
Can you briefly describe what made you choose WordPress over other options, and then what the process was to create the background of all this? I mean, did you write the code for all of this?
Yeah, it was most of the plugins were either done completely from scratch in-house, or were modified versions of stuff that were out there. That does make updating hard as far as updating plugins, because we've had to tweak a lot of stuff just to fit our specific needs. But yeah, everything was written in-house. As far as the process of choosing WordPress, I think it was down to just how user-friendly it is. As far as, I mean, it's such a pretty interface on the back end, and it has a lot of the tools we wanted just built into it. And there's a huge community around it, so we definitely saw value in that. Here's another fun thing. I totally forgot about this. This is our images that we pull in from the AP blog, and these are just the images, and they're put separately. And of course, all AP images, they come with captions too, so these are here. And you can see which wire they came in with, and you can also set them as, so if you have the story's ID, or if you want to use this, if we wanted to use our wires, which is the main reason why we have the wires is for all the great images we get. And so if we wanted to set art for a story we have somewhere else, we can just type in the post ID here, click OK, and it's done. So yeah.
So the images are not arriving with a particular story. You can separate the two or buy them in different batches.
Yeah. So sorry. Can you explain what you mean?
When you get your list of stories, they come with artwork or not?
From AP?
Yes.
Yes, they do. So
And then these are additional. This is additional artwork, or you just
sometimes.
Okay.
So the way it works is, so AP will send a list of elements, and sometimes those elements are stories that have linked art, or sometimes it's just art. And so sometimes it's really rare to see images without an associated wire, as you'll see here. But what this means is this is the story that the art came with. So you can see that this is the same story twice. It's because that story included both of these images, and this one too, and probably this one. But
if you had your own author write a story and could use that image, that's where you're saying you could enter that.
yeah, you could. Yeah, it's just another way for the person to set it. And also, now that I think about it, there's a way to do it from within the media library itself too, which we kind of tweaked a little bit. And I totally forgot about that. And so this is our media library. It looks a lot like the standard one. But we've had where we can track our usage. So this is all the stories they're used on and how they're used. So this is a featured image. If it was a slide, it would say as slide image. And then the notes part, I put in notes so that they might upload and crop a picture ahead of time, and then a writer will finish their story and look in here and see that, oh, this is the art that was for me, and then add it from here. And you can also, in here, you can set as a featured image. So if I wanted to add it to another story, I could just set it right here too in the same way. That way it just gives multiple avenues to the same thing, so that people can pick and choose what they like the best. I think what's used most often is the post table, adding art from there, because the art department likes that, because they can just look at a list of stories and see what doesn't have art. They know what stories they're supposed to add art to and just do it in one fell swoop. I think they like that interface the best. Yes?
There's so many departments. There, you've got the authors, the art department, and the editors, top editor. How many people are actually publishing from this? And how do you manage like who's doing what?
So that's sort of they've been doing it for years as far as managing who's publishing and the whole editorial schedule. Some authors will publish their own stories, but sometimes they'll go through copy edit and they'll leave notes for each other, and it's all communication. A lot of it's done from within the CMS, as you saw from the notes field, and a lot of it's done via email, or we have a daily edit call.
Well, what I was really thinking about was what we're reading. You know, it seems like there's a lot of people that are publishing. You know, several times during the day.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, I mean, we use the scheduling function a lot, where we'll have stories queued up, and we'll just schedule it for a certain time, and that's when it'll actually surface on the site. But it might be sitting in our post table for, you know, whoever knows how long. I think currently there's like 3 or 4 that have just been there forever and haven't surfaced yet, just because editorial hasn't decided it's time for it to come, or they're, you know, like, I think actually it's funny, I noticed this today, I'll show you guys. Like, I think there's, out of the top 10 stories in this list, they're like all about porn and sex.
So it's for February.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's probably, you know, on purpose. We don't want to, you know, push out all of our porn and sex stories at once.
For Valentine's Day.
Yeah, or maybe they're saving it for exactly.
Okay, I have one more question
Sure.
real quick. Does this thing keep growing and growing, like Anko was noting how much content, how many images you have?
Yeah.
This can just keep going?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, there's our limits. So the thing about WordPress is it's not really designed to, in its core, to do what we're doing with it, with such a huge data set.
Yeah.
So we've had to do a lot of stuff with scaling, and there's a lot of websites actually that are doing this now. I think emusic.com is on WordPress, and they have a very similar setup to us. So we have 1 master database, and then 3 read databases, and we have everything behind caching. We're using Object Cache. We're using WordPress's built-in caching API. We also have all of our output content cached behind Akamai, which is, you know, the leading content delivery network.
Even the dynamic content? Not
Yeah.
just like static files?
Yeah, totally. It's all HTML cached. All the HTML is cached. I think the expiration is what, like 2 minutes. So luckily, like, a lot of the traffic won't ever actually hit our servers. We'll just touch Akamai. So that's how we've solved for our infinite growth and all the traffic that we get. But yeah, I mean, as far as we know, there's not really a tipping point. I guess we'll find out when we get there.
On that vein, so is WordPress serving your content on salon.com, or is Railroad creating caches that then get pushed? Can you talk a little bit about infrastructure?
Yeah. So when you edit something on Railroad, they're sharing the exact same database. Even the caches, there's a setting where you can make sure that there's not a prefix for the domain on the cache. So they're sharing the exact same object cache too. So when someone makes an edit, you know, it gets invalidated properly. And actually, we found out about the whole prefix thing the hard way, because people would make changes on Railroad and they wouldn't show up on Salon. And of course, we were thinking, oh, it might be, you know, Akamai's not getting the right content fast enough. But it was actually because we were prefixing our object caches, because that's how it doesn't. I think that's how they solve for WordPress multi-site solves for multiple domains. So we just got rid of the prefix.
So what's the purpose of Railroad then?
So the idea was to have so salon.com was where you would come to read it, Railroad is where you come to edit. And it's sort of to give, well, first of all, Railroad is protected separately. So you can't even get to Railroad without user access. So if you tried to go to railroad.net right now, you wouldn't be able to get in. so it adds a level of security. It also is more of a, I guess more of a workflow thing. You, like I said, you come to salon.com if you want to read, you come to Railroad, it's just for our team to edit.
But if there was like a vulnerability in WordPress, the salon.com is serving WordPress.
Well, salon.com is actually not serving it because salon.com is Akamai. So it's not serving any PHP. It's all just static HTML content. Our origin server is serving the actual WordPress, but that's getting the information that's going to be pulled back. So, yes.
What about users and comments? So if you're a subscriber to salon.com and you make a comment, are you in this database or are you somewhere else?
Yes. Yeah, all our comments are hosted by us. And so we've also migrated our 2 million comments from before. So yeah, they're all here. We're looking at intense debate, which is Bo, you did work on that, didn't you? Yeah. I'll talk to you later. But yeah, we kind of want to move to a different commenting solution because we have a very devoted comment community, and so they're very, very vocal about what they want in the comments. And so a lot of the things that we get from using a service like intense debate, where we would have to build it ourselves, would be great. So yes.
Can you talk about how comments are applied to either salon.com or Railroad? Like, where do they go when a user enters a comment?
So a user should never see Railroad. A user will never see Railroad. But as far as salon.com, when they enter a comment, it goes into the comments table just like any
So is that a separate database or something?
No, it's the same database. It's just, so are you familiar with the WordPress database, Uma? So it's a table in the database, WP comments. So it just goes into that just like any other WordPress install.
So it's going back to your intro network.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And saving that. And then Akamai is pulling it and putting it on.
Right, well actually our comments are not cached. But because comments are dynamic, of course, and we don't, those come in after the DOM is finished loading. So Akamai will serve you the static HTML, and then there's JSON objects which come in after the fact and put comments on the page.
So after the DOM is done, then it pulls.
Right.
Could you talk a little bit about your premium subscriber content and how you serve that in WordPress? Do you use third-party tools for that? You have a really big premium subscriber base.
That's a good question. So our premium, or core is what it's called now, is actually built using a PHP framework. What is it called? Kohana. And that just is served right within WordPress. I mean, they're both. I mean, it just was kind of like, oh, it just works. So as far as premium content, right now we don't have like specific premium content that's available to only certain users within WordPress. We have certain things that are kind of outside of the scope of our website that we give. For instance, tomorrow we're doing a webcast, and that has nothing to do with WordPress. It's just something that only our premium members have access to. Right now, there's not like a built-in paywall or anything. We have all of our content that's on our website is for everybody. So
your AP feed or any other feed, is the software that consumes that feed, is it written in PHP and part of the WordPress framework, or is it external and stuffing data into your
it's actually, that's a good question too. That cron specifically is not, it is written in PHP, and it basically bootstraps WordPress in order to use the WordPress functions to insert it into our database, but it's not actually running on the same box as our production. But the actual feed, of course, is AP's own, and that's, like I said, it's just an XML API. I wouldn't recommend using it because right now they're redoing it. And I think that should be a better, prettier JSON object API, because I mean, if you've ever worked with XML, it's a big pain in the ass. So it's so 2005. or is this something you want me to explain more about?
What made you decide to go with Akamai rather than some other object HTML caching solution or hosting? Any of the other ways to go about that CDNs?
I don't know.
What
do you think?
Well, there were a couple of things. One, we could use Akamai entirely as our output cache, with the exception of comments, so we could just dump it on them. Right now, they handle 85% of our traffic. It never even touches us.
Why can't you cache comments?
Well,
or do you just not want to?
It's really a matter of trying to figure out how to do it and make them dynamically respond on the page quickly enough for people to see that they're commenting. Exactly. Otherwise, there's a 2-minute delay, and nobody's happy with that. Yeah. So a lot of it was the fact that, yes, they could handle 85% of our traffic for us. It never even touches us. And the other was we got a pretty good price point with them.
I believe it now that I heard twice.
Well, Karen's the one who got it. So.
Yes.
How long did it take you to build this site?
And how much did it cost?
So the actual migration script started or writing it, thinking about it, started in November of 2010.
Yeah.
The time we launched was October last year. So it was about a year. But I mean, if you're counting work weeks, that's like maybe like 3 or 4 years. We were a very small team, and we were all kind of learning WordPress.
How many people were in the team?
3 or 4, as far as engineering, and then 2 product people.
With a little help from WordPress.com.
With a little help from Automatic, yeah, definitely, and Boche, who they definitely helped us a lot. Really happy to have help from them. But yeah, I mean, it was not an easy process. Like I said, we have a lot of data, a lot of different use cases, and we were sort of figuring things out and we're still figuring things out that we didn't realize were a problem, or we didn't realize was an awkward interface. We're just sort of hitting the problems as we go. So. Yes.
So what did you not get to do that you're hoping to get to do?
Well, one thing is making comments. So we used to have a feature that was you could preview the comment before it gets done, and that's really simple. It's just one of those things where we have like 800 other things we're supposed to be doing, and now our development team is dramatically smaller, which, by the way, we've got openings. So if anyone really likes what you see and want to be a part of it, please, please, please come find me or this guy. And we will be happy to talk to you. But yeah. Did I answer the question yet? Oh, yeah, that's right. So that's one thing we wanted to do. We also wanted to kind of make the cover a little more dynamic and sort of use different templates so we could change. And there's a lot of this we're actually you heard it here first. We're doing a redesign soon, and so it's going to be drastically different. And so a lot of those things you'll get to see, and hopefully we'll get time to kind of make them more funky and fun. So, yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to hear a little bit about like what your process is when there's a WordPress core update, and what do you do?
Good question. I have no idea. We haven't done it. Yeah, we're still.
The basic process is we've got a couple of different stage development environments, which we're utilizing. So we pick one of those, we make the migration on that environment, and then go through a number of QA cycles, basically trying to see what's broken, what isn't, and then the goal is to do performance and load balance, or load testing, everything against that, and then update as necessary, migrate that from environment to production and move on.
So it's basically just like a really long, slow merge of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It basically fits right into the rest of our development cycle. It's their development instead of ours.
And we never touched core. It's worth saying that was
right.
really sacred to us. We did not want to touch core, so the notch upgrade. So obviously it's important to make sure that the plugins all still work that have been written, but core is untouched.
When you say QA cycle, is there anything automated in there? Do you have?
We're still in the process of building that out. Some of the load balancing is automated. Most of the rest of it, like I said, right now is when we're really focusing on developing those processes.
So you big QA team,
We have a QA team. Her name is Jill. It's coming along.
What will you be automating with? Are you going to do front end?
I think front end we're looking at Selenium. Back end it's still kind of up in the air. We're trying to move to functional testing because so much of our stuff changes on a regular basis that unit testing is still a little premature, and kind of build out from there. But it's still very much in flow.
What is your dev setup like? In terms of like stage interaction, how do you?
So yeah, we've got. Sorry.
No.
So what we have are we are using Amazon for most of our entire site. So everything's in the cloud. Yeah, in the cloud. So we have dev environments set up in the cloud for each developer. It's basically one box that hosts the database, the memcache instance, and Apache is what we're currently running the site off of. Every developer gets to play with that. They've all got their own branch in SVN. We're still on SVN. Moving to Git probably soon. So the developer goes in, makes the changes they want in that branch. Once they feel that those changes are ready to go, they merge them into our integration branch, which is again a separate box running its own database. That's basic testing goes on there, make sure it plays friendly with all the other plugins. It moves from there to our QA environment, where it gets QA'd. QA is much closer to our production environment in that we're using HyperDB there. We've got multiple database. You've got a master write database, a read slave. So each step up the line gets closer to our production environment. Once it's through the QA cycle, we get simple SVN merge to our deployment box, and that does just deploys straight up from rsync from there. So all of the PHP machines are completely inaccessible except for the web interface. You can't write to them, you can't get to them unless you happen to be our push machine.
Why Apache stuff?
I'm sorry?
I guess, well, you guys are only starting it, so it doesn't matter.
Alright,
So why Apache? But you guys, I never said you guys aren't actually starting.
because we didn't get enough time to set up Nginx, which is what we're migrating to.
Okay.
Anyone else got any questions? What's up?
When you said there's the way you manage your slides, and you want to release that, can you say specifically what you really liked about it? And by release, does that mean you're going to make this a free plugin?
Yeah, it'll be a free plugin. It'll be called Ipso Slideshow. I've already kind of started on it, just pulling the code out, but I mean, I haven't really had time to make it available yet, and I'll poke around with it a little more probably later. I'm actually getting married in 2 weeks, so I don't have any fucking time.
Not promising anything to anybody.
Exactly.
Anytime.
Yeah, so it's, I like it because there's not really the reason why we coded it, we thought we'd add like a slideshow plugin that someone already used. I think there's Slide Deck and there's one more else that's used pretty often. But it didn't do what we wanted to do, and it wasn't flexible, and it was, you know, you'd have to go to a different page, and so that we chose that interface. I know a lot of that was Karen and I's thinking. We just wanted it right there in the page, easy to use, and yeah. And so the interface you'll see on the inside is pretty much going to be exactly the same. The thing that will be different is how you present it, which I think the approach is better to just give you the calls so that you can put it in your theme however you want. And then instead of trying to make something that'll fit in everybody's theme. So just look out for that. We'll send something around or to Zach so that everyone here can know when stuff like that's released.
Can you show us the slideshow?
Sure. I mean the way it looks on.
Yeah, on a page.
Sure.
it's really easy.
It's totally
Post
easy.
page.
Let me get one that's been published. So, I'll do it from the real site so it gets faster. So the way we do slideshows is it doesn't show up in the actual body of the story. It's a separate page that you go to, and just adds the endpoint. If you're familiar with WordPress's code structure, it's just an endpoint that, and there's code that tells it to show you the first slide. And so this is our slideshow, and you can just click next, and oh yeah, there you go. You got your next picture. You can come down here and choose one, and yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Slideshow.
I like the captions show up really nice too.
Yeah. And so, you know, theoretically, you'd be able to sort of design your own slideshow experience for the front end, but then you get that tool that manages the data for you. Oh, yeah.
With the dynamic comments, you guys are hitting a JSON API that you're exposing that is on a different server, or where is that all?
It's all really on the same server. It's basically an Ajax.
Does that spin up the entire WordPress stack in order to serve that JSON?
Essentially, yeah. Yeah, it's using the built-in comment functionality. That one of the reasons why we're looking at a different implementation of that is because of the performance that we're getting there. A lot of that was kind of done when we went and realized that going through Optimi wasn't a viable solution for Common. So it didn't get as much design beforehand as we might have liked. So we're in the process of refactoring the solution.
Cool. Anybody else? All right, well, I'm gonna grab a beer.
Just again, as a reminder, we are hiring, so come on by.
That's a great segue. I also, before we wrap here, I also realized I forgot to thank a few people. I just wanted to thank all the volunteers who came and helped out. A bunch of people came. I'm not going to name you all. Really appreciate you helping with setup and takedown and few of you are sticking around helping us clean up. We appreciate that. Thank you to Aline, who's filming today. She'll be editing and posting this on our WPSFO site. Please do register and sign up. We're going to be expanding that site over the next few months. It's a BuddyPress install, WPSFO.org. Do we have anybody else? Salon.com is hiring. It's hard to compete with that. But anybody want to try to? Anyone want to talk about hiring?
Yeah, we're hiring QA people.
You can stand up.
All right. Hey, I'm from Kink.com, or we're from Kink.com, and we're hiring QA people. A couple more dropping in. So, hey.
Are you guys running WordPress?
For a couple of our sites, or at least one of them.
Anyone else hiring?
Behind the scenes video.
Yeah,
Kink.com hiring right down the street in the Armory, right?
Yep.
Awesome place to work. Who else is hiring?
We are.
Go.
Trend Media, we do mostly WordPress custom sites, so I'm always looking for independent developers to work with. If you can take on an hour or 2 hours, we can use that help. If you can take on big projects, we can use that help. So if you're a person who likes to work on WordPress and you can just fill a few slots in your schedule, fine.
Anyone else hiring? What about any freelance engineers looking for WordPress gigs? No, we're right. No one has any freelance. Anyone? Any freelance designers? Freelance designers? You're looking for work?
How many job offers?
I'm always looking for work. All right. Tim's looking for work.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If anybody has ever built, and this might be really silly, but an intranet site using WordPress, and if there's any maybe like packages, like intranet that companies, you know, with information that companies would need. I would love to talk to someone about it.
Sounds like a job for Buddy Press or for Uncle.
You know, well, I was thinking about that, actually.
Cool. Anyone else looking for work or looking to hire? Aline, what's up?
Well, I can do videography, slideshows, social media marketing, and videos.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll see some high quality video. Not today. What else we got? Exygy, we're always looking to hire. So if you're looking for work with nonprofits and social innovators, build technology, come talk to us. Automatic also. Can't compete with Salon.com and Automatic.
I don't know what we're hiring for, but we have a page. I know it's about.
Okay. Anything else? Any other announcements? Anything like that? Okay. Cool. Thanks, guys. If you don't mind, like stacking up your chairs as you go and hang around, have some pizza, have some beer. We'll kick you out in a little while.